everyone. Look at that. We have a countdown on this new platform. It's the Riverside FM platform. Coming to you live, Sox Populi Mothership Podcast 192, 193. Things are in a little disarray at the moment. Not just with your favorite team, but with your favorite podcasters. We're switching platforms. We're doing more stuff at Playback TV. If you haven't checked that out, playback.tv/Southside Sox. Where else would you go to watch White Sox games with your virtual buddies? There's nowhere else to go. Who else would you want to hang out with other than your friends at Southside Sox on Playback TV? You know you want to be with us. Okay, well, we're here on Riverside. Hopefully this is working and recording. My name is Brett Ballantini. We're doing a podcast at the midpoint of the season. Day off becomes test pressing day. No one gets a day off at Southside Sox because the idiot editor says, hey, you want to do some stuff on a day off? And thankfully, Kristina's like, well, thanks, pal. I'm already chained to the computer to write some minors about a system that can't even win. So sure, I'll show up. Thank you. That's actually not fair characterization at all of Kristina. She is extremely positive, up talking the situation. I made that out to be very negative there, Kristina, but I'm happy you're here. And I do not know what Melissa and Hannah are doing here, but we are way happier to have them with us than not. So thank you both for joining as we talk about the White Sox at mid-season. We had just done a podcast, or whatever you want to call it, at Playback, the place you should be to watch games with your friends. And that was supposed to be the positive side of mid-season 2025. I don't think that was delineated terribly well, if only because one of us, I don't know who, kept skewing negative. But, I mean, there's no rules here. You can talk about tough stuff, you can talk about good stuff. But in theory, this podcast was going to talk about the question I've asked. We haven't had a Mothership podcast in like 2 months because we've had like 6,000 other podcasts to arrange here at Sox Populi. But it's always been like a vibe check, and it's always comparing up against 2024. I think you sort of have to when you have 121 losses in the rearview mirror and not as far back in the rear view as you'd like it to be. The White Sox are 5 games better so far, projects to 10 games better, projects to 111 losses. To some of us, that would have been a eye-crossing improvement. For me, yeah. I think most said that still would have been on the low end of what predictions were, maybe. I don't know why I skewed so negative. Go figure. I'm the oldest fan here. Go figure. At any rate, the team is better, maybe not that much better. 0 WAR as hitters. Last year was negative 6.7, so it's an improvement in a embarrassing way, but it is an improvement. They're replacement bats this year. Come on, White Sox. At any rate, pitching's holding up with maybe less headline stars. So the team is in more games. They're playing more competitively. There's youth on the team that you could say, hey, I could maybe see this guy here next year, much less 5 or 10 years down the road. Let's cut against the grain. Needle scratch here. Let's start this podcast, though we may start to roll down the hill here a little bit. Let's start this podcast to this new audience that clearly is not listening to anything we might have done just earlier this evening. I'd like to hear from each of you the thing that's made you most happy about being a 2025 White Sox fan. And a fair answer is that the season's half over. But, don't make me answer for you. What's something that you're sort of happy about being a White Sox fan? Man, I got to choose my words carefully, and I don't think that really fits, but just roll with it.
Look we're all jumping.
Yeah, right, exactly. I was about to take that as the answer.
Mine is probably the easiest, and I'm probably stealing it from everybody else then, but is watching the young guys Like I get a lot, and especially covering the minors, and so hearing about them, kind of the build up to it, and then actually being able to see them on the big league field to me has been really fun, because I think for the most part they're keeping their heads above water, Caro and Teal and some of the pitchers and stuff. Grant Taylor. So to me, that's been fun because it looks like they actually want to be there this year, and they have some heart when they're playing. As of like last year, it looked like every single player hated their life, and I wouldn't blame them because it was really bad, and I probably would have hated my life too. But this year, at least, I feel like the joy is back in their faces and their efforts. And so for me, that has made it a more enjoyable season so far.
Not having 26 Andrew Benintendis in 2025. Because
and even Andrew Benintendi looks happier.
He's caught the fever. He's caught the fever.
Yeah, like he seems to be. I mean, he's playing, pretty well. Not playing up to his contract, but he's playing pretty well. And he looks like, you see him joking with his teammates in the dugout and stuff, and some big smiles when good things happen. So even he looks not to be regretting his life decision to come to Chicago.
Yes, he looked at his paycheck.
Yeah, that
and
was
said, "What?
Too.
My name's on that? Wow! What were they thinking?
To do what?
And I still can't throw into the infield? Yeah, okay. Well, all right. See, skewed to negative. That was awesome. And I'm the influence. Hannah, Kristina, something that makes you happy to wake up in the morning as a Chicago White Sox fan?
Knowing that Jerry Reinsdorf is maybe selling the team in 10 years or so.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There's a plan.
Yeah, there's a concepts of a plan, if you will. That's probably it. I was gonna say some of the pitching, but then all at the same time, some of the pitching is like the bane of my entire existence. So, the young guys, it's the young guys. I'm also really excited about some of the Rule 5 picks that we've had, just because you never see it, and we literally have guys that we pulled out of the woodwork that are doing the best on the whole team. So, those small little things.
Yeah, the last Rule 5 pick, also Shane, wasn't even healthy enough to even pitch for the White Sox, so they had to return him, back to Boston. This is crazy that they've got two guys that they absolutely plausibly will carry all year. I mean, maybe not best ever, but I think they're already like top 10 Rule 5 picks ever, for goodness sake. I mean, depending how far you go back. Okay, Hannah, we've stole all the good answers, so then what's yours?
Probably seeing how much the guys actually like Venable. You read about how much he's like a player's manager. They love the attitude. They respect him, and even if they don't stick around for the longest time, and even if Venable has made some questionable calls for bringing guys home when he shouldn't have, I think that's still a positive sentiment and clubhouse vibe that was not there last year, and something that even in his first year he's got a lot to learn, but I think that tone setting is really a really good foundation.
Yeah. What's everybody's assessment of Venable so far? This is 81 game career. Very touted managerial prospects. Seemed like he could have had a job easily last year, and chose to opt out of what would seem to be much more attractive jobs. So he ends up in Chicago. Myself, I'm not really sure what to think. I'd say average, and he sort of up talks the situation. So and he's holding up, and there's not dissension. Hannah, you're right that we're not hearing stories, we're not having leaks. What you going to leak on a 2025 White Sox team, especially because they're not quite on pace to be like the worst in modern history. But I guess the early return is, given what the White Sox have done with the previous two hirings, again, bars on the ground, but okay, he's over it, so that's good. Melissa, Kristina, what are you thinking? I imagine it's skewing somewhat positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been growing pains, for sure. There's some things we're watching and like, why did we do that? Like sending a guy home like every time. I don't know what is going on with that? But I feel like it got to the point with Pedro, like every time you saw him on camera, everybody just was like cringe. And like you enjoy hearing Venable talk. He has a very like guy next door type of vibe to him. Like, and when I met him at Sox Fest, it was very much like that too. You felt like I did not feel like I was talking to the manager of like a Major League Baseball team. I felt like I was talking to some guy that like I bumped into, having a drink with my husband at like a bar or something. Like he just, and so I feel like he when he speaks, it's very professional, but it's super relatable. And my guess is that's how he is in the clubhouse too. And so when you're bringing up a bunch of guys and you're trying to get them to buy into what you're doing, I feel like that's exactly the type of personality that you should have. And the fact that they have won 5 more games with arguably less talent, like, big names. No, we don't have any of those. I mean, I guess really we only had like Crochet last year, would be the only one. But I feel like he is doing the best he could do. Like, I don't know how much better it could be, because I think it could be a whole heck of a lot worse. So, yeah.
Kristina, okay, time to cut negative. What you got?
Yeah, I don't have that big of like an opinion, I think, so far on him. Like, he doesn't have that much to work with. However, there is times where I'm like, that's how you structured the lineup, like with the tools that you have available, or like that's the guy you're bringing in this situation. Like, sure, we expect to lose anyways, but like, it's 2-1, then you bring in the guy that's got like a borderline 8 ERA. I mean, what are we doing? But yeah, so I think that he also still has to learn, and it's his first time coaching. But I think overall the vibes are good with him, and I prefer him to Pedro Grifal, that's for sure. I don't think that's saying very much. But I also throws me that just like he looks insanely young. Like he just has such a baby face. So like Melissa said, like he does kind of just like look like a guy. He's just a guy, But yeah, I think he's good so far. I think he fits well with the young team, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, this team is 5 games better than a year ago, which isn't good. They're still a really, really bad team. Run differential is way better, which is an indication they are competitive in games. If you just go by the WAR, this team should probably have even a better record, despite it being more competitive. I think folks thought the luck, quote unquote luck, was due to turn because everything went against the White Sox that could possibly in a 121 loss season, and that's probably fairly true, but I'm not sure it's turned to the degree that even what an average coin flip land in heads and tails would be. The offense is still woeful. The bullpen's easy to complain about, but it seems like we complain about the bullpen losing leads, and it's like this team just stops hitting. They hit like 1 every 4-5 games. And even then, it's like, well, we gave you 5 runs this game. You better do something with it. This team's still really bad. And I think what's a little worrisome is that we're excited about the young players, and we've got 2 blue chip catchers, for goodness sake. This is nuts. But there's not. I mean, this is negative. It's a negative podcast. There's not much else. There's certainly not much immediate. Tim Elko at first base. Apparently, they don't want him up, so okay, whatever. Okay, Tim Elko. Brooks Baldwin goes to AAA, goes bananas, comes up, and then starts swinging up balls 3 feet over his head, and looks great doing it, but okay. No outfield. I mean, there's nothing at AAA. There's nothing reasonably at AA that's going to come up to the majors this season. We can get into Noah Schultz in the second half of this podcast. I got thoughts, but the truth is, the team isn't much better. And conversely, to how we kicked off this podcast, short of Jerry Reinsdorf Death Watch, positive or negative, I mean, the realistic assessment is that there's a real part of that cup that's very empty. There's got to be stuff that struck all of you as, aside from the fact I got 14 caps in my closet, why am I a White Sox fan? What is the stuff that's getting you down at this point? Because you can make an argument, though it was a pipe dream to think this team was not going to lose 100 games, that there's still a thought that's like, wait, it's just 5 games better, make it season 10 maybe for the season. This team's still going to lose 111 games when they've known. I mean, this has been building for a few years now. So there's got to be some points of frustration for you. Please share so that I can be someone else can frown in addition to me.
The defense.
The defense.
I'm saying
let's point out, Kristina.
Talk about the pitchers, but then after you brought it up like a half hour ago about fielding percentage, they suck in the field too.
Let's point out, Kristina, this has been Chris Getz's objective now for 2 seasons. But okay, please continue. Tell me about the defense, Kristina.
4th worst in errors. They have the 4th most errors. 4th worst fielding percentage. And then if you look at the pitchers, like they're all the way down the teams, like they're all the way at the bottom or pushing the bottom. Like Melissa touched on earlier, they're always giving up leads and everything, and then there always seems to be some idiotic play that's happening in the field. I mean, like we've seen balls hitting heads, we've watched the ball hit people in the face. Like that was last season, granted, but like we've seen errors at like really dumb times. Like Getz, he says it's important, like you just called out too, but who is going to be playing the defense? Like even if you look at Luis Robert, and I think Melissa and I were talking about that a few weeks ago, like even his like defensive runs saved and everything, like that, it's not, no one's that good. There's not like anyone where you can pick out and you're like, oh, if it's hit to him, like hell yeah. You really just don't know who is going to make the error that day, and there's no like lock anywhere. And then that's why the pitchers also have horrible like ERA sometimes in a low fifth, because like if you remove all those defense things, and sometimes it's the opposite, like they're getting lucky. But the blowing the close games and just not being able to field, and this has been a problem for forever, and you pointed out, who's our outfield prospects? Like we get rid of Luis Robert, and then who's going to play there? You get rid of Andrew Benintendi, and who's going to play there? Someone might throw slightly harder than him, but they're not like. It's just That's my little mini rant on the defense. I just like they're not scoring runs, but then you don't help yourself on the other side. Yeah. So
Chase Mydroth has gotten accolades on the broadcast as being really good defensively, and he was not even lauded as a shortstop, although he can play shortstop. He's been better than expected. I think that's easy to say. But he looks great, and I don't know what the stats say. I don't know what the metrics say. He's average, and he probably should be. He's his first games in the major league. He's 5'2" surfer dude. Whatever. Yeah, you don't think he's probably going to man shortstop for a World Series team. Prove me wrong, Chase. But okay. Point is, he looks great because yes, he's made errors, but it's like, okay, he can do it. Vargas, you could argue too, he's sort of juggling the 2 positions. He's made bonehead errors as well, but okay, clearly he looks great, and the metrics probably say he's better than average. He's average, ballpark average. So yeah, the bar. I keep bringing up the bar, but boy, everybody looks really good because this team is still sort of dog ugly. But that said, let's move on to other areas of somberness and sorrow from Melissa and Hannah. What else you got? We covered a lot of topics, but there's always little nooks and crannies you can dig out. So please do.
So I put something in our Slack earlier today about it, but I have been watching the Team USA like announcements, what players and stuff are going to play for Team USA, and like the fact that nobody on this team, like Team USA is not going to want anybody from the White Sox on the team. That is sad. That is just, it's not even sad. Like, it's super embarrassing.
Melissa,
What?
Melissa, Team Anywhere is not going to want any White Sox. We don't have to just like the Americans. Team Cuba's like, well, Luis, yeah, okay, take a break.
That's true. Even the other.
And that relates also to the All-Stars. We've got Tauchman at 7th, I think, at DH. There's not another. They go 10 deep. They go 20 deep in the outfield. And there's not one White Sox, and not that we would expect it. And a year from now, maybe one of the catchers, eases their way into the top 10. I don't know. Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, I think early in the season, we're like, oh, Shane Smith, easy All-Star pick, right? But now that he's fallen off, so who is it? Is it going to be? I mean, I think for Mike it would be great, like as a veteran. I mean, he's not certainly an all-star, but on our team he's an all-star. But it's like all these like amazing players and Shohei Ohtani, and then you've got Mike Tauchman. The Chicago White Sox.
Your all-star representative, Mike Vassell.
Like 34-year-old Tauchman, too.
We've all been fans of this team for a long time. When is the last time that you can remember? I don't think I ever can remember that at least we had one guy who, yes, this guy is a legit all-star.
Yeah. Yeah, or at least a name where the reputation is like, okay, Harold Baines got picked in 1988 or something. It's like, okay, well, it's Harold Baines. Maybe he's not even having a great year, but okay, it's Harold Baines. There. I mean, last year was pushing with Garrett Crochet, for goodness sake. And I mean, granted, all-star, first half, one half of baseball, and he's like, okay, he's the all-star. He's proven that he's earning that now, but even that was a stretch. Yeah, oh man.
Yeah, Oof. So that's like, to me, is just... I'm scratching my head. Like, I cannot believe after a lifetime of fandom that I would never even, whoever it is going to be, like, I would never pick I'm not going to buy their All-Star jersey, I mean, Liam went, Sage was like, oh, maybe I want to Liam. Like, no, I don't want it.
They're gonna pick Jason Bourgeois for first base coach and be like, okay, we crossed you off the list, White Sox. Just shut up. We got somebody there. He's wearing the cap. All right. Hannah, you can tell us who's going to make Team USA from the White Sox, or you can choose your own category of something that's getting you down.
I'll pick something else for fun. When I sadly was most excited to watch Charlotte play this year, and somehow they're below 500. They keep hovering right around 500, and they still can't get over the line. And then you look at the lineup, and it's just shocking to see this team batting on average like 270 plus some for like over half the lineup. It's like 270 to 80, 300 even. It's just, it comes down to the pitching at the end of the day for Charlotte, and like we've been talking about over and over, there really are no reinforcements on the pitching side. So that's probably my biggest downer, is just seeing how much potential Charlotte has on the hitting side mainly, and then seeing the results.
And you're going to hear people like, AAA, like, it's not even a level anymore. It's just sort of like this weird, like, hold. It's like to touch on the theme of tonight. It's, where a bunch of guys sit while their plane's delayed, trying to get somewhere else, right? It doesn't even count. Well, there's 29 other teams. Somebody wins those divisions. Some AAA teams win, 80 games, or, they manage to balance pitching and hitting. They have a 500 or better record. I go crazy about win-loss records, and I know I shouldn't about the minor leagues, but I also shouldn't just say, oh, it doesn't matter. This team, this organization doesn't win. At this point, we could very plausibly have no playoff teams this season after 2 last year, which, by the way, were the first 2 in my time doing Southside Sox. That stretches 8 seasons now, so bang-up job, White Sox. Hey, let's take a quick break and stay in Charlotte and chat about a topic I'd like to chat a little bit about. It doesn't have to do with the White Sox. We'll just give everybody time to just take a breath before we get back to the White Sox, because it can just be draining. You're forced to look at your own 14 caps in the closet and say, why did I buy any of those? So we want to give you a break from that. Look at the couple Charlotte hats and say, why did I buy those? We'll take a break, be back in a minute or whatever it's going to be. I don't even know. The rules are all off. We're on a different platform. I might not even be alive talking right now. I could just be in another projection somewhere else. I'm going to check the kerosene level of my Wi-Fi and be right back with you. Hello, my name is Brett Ballantini. It is is it Southside? I don't even know. What are we called now? I don't know. It's some podcast approaching 200, 192, 193. Let's call it podcast number 645. Grizzled veterans of the podcast with me here, Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, Hannah Filippo, and Kristina Airdo, who's also doubling as recapper for the minors tonight on her off day. Sorry, Kristina. But hey, at least you only have 3 or 4 games. Don't complain. We talked about Charlotte before the break, before I decided to stumble and trip over my swollen tongue once again. Oh, it's getting late, very late Eastern time here. And the kerosene, the fumes are starting to get to me now. Noah Schultz was promoted to Charlotte. Noah Schultz is the number 1 prospect in the White Sox system. He's the top left-handed prospect in baseball. He's been a blue chip from the beginning. I guess from the beginning. I was a high school pick, so people are sort of like, yeah, he's a blue chip. And then he pitches a little bit, and they say, oh, okay. And though he never pitched beyond 5 innings until this year, he has established the fact that he can be a legitimate starting pitcher. He has earned his status as a number 1 prospect. He also has long bouts without being able to find the plate, which is okay, I guess, if you don't allow any hits, but you'd rather not have any base runners, right? The White Sox have promoted him from Birmingham. His first start last Friday-ish, his first start with Charlotte was not good. He starts again, I believe, Friday. I believe I get that game from Hannah. I'm trading her Hagen Smith start. Speaking of Southpaw blue chip prospects. But here's the problem I see, and that is scrutiny isn't going to lessen being in Charlotte. Just like with Colson Montgomery, and starting spring training saying, you know what? I'm the smart GM of the Chicago White Sox, and I think Colson Montgomery, a guy who sucked in 2024, could very well break camp as our shortstop. Go for it, Colson. There's no way to avoid scrutiny that's going to come. He's the number 1 left-hand. He might be the number 1 pitching. He's definitely number 1 left-handed starting prospect in baseball. He's moved up, though you could argue legitimately he doesn't have it all together in a pitching park. He's going now to the bandbox in Charlotte, and I assume the International League, just a little bit of a wild offensive atmosphere where scrutiny is going to be increased. And even if he manages that scrutiny, let's say he gets his walks down, now the clock has begun. He doesn't make it to the majors this year. Why not? He doesn't pitch well. Oh, God. I mean, I'm not going to say Colson Montgomery, but oh, no. So the move, explain to me the logic, allay my fears, or jump on the bandwagon and let's just crash the wagon into the side of the mountain, because what's the point? We're White Sox fans. Please allay my fears.
I can't, because I don't know why that they did that.
Yeah.
I think that he was just kind of starting to do better in Birmingham, and like he has not had any control at all this year. His walk rate is not good, and you were saying it's like 14%. It's like pushing 14%, which is like crazy high, almost double than what you would want, really. Like, yeah, he has like 1 good pitch that's like working actually, and it's not.
And it's incredible, but it's one
yeah,
pitch.
but all the other pitches aren't good, and if you're not in the zone and no one's swinging at them, like that's the other problem. So, it's I don't know. I think that
we could all walk off of Noah Schultz right now because we could go like this. If you're lefty, if you're righty, if you're switching, we can do that. It'd be terrifying. We can do that. Sorry, interrupted.
No,
with
you're
a dumb joke.
That's like you're right. We have a good chance of walking, which is like a 14% chance.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just not going up to swing.
So I think that there's definitely some things to be worried about there. I mean, if he doesn't start to really like improve and cut that down and like find the zone more frequently than he currently is, then I don't really know how like moving up to Charlotte's going to help any of that, because you're throwing against, you know, triple 4A players, and you're only going to get better bats. Like, it's, I don't know. I worry about him a little bit. I think that he has insanely high potential, but if the command doesn't get figured out, we're going to have a problem.
Katina, I think I figured out our path to the major leagues, because I think a 140 on base percentage is better than Andrew Vaughn this year for the White Sox. So we have, what I'm trying to say to all of us here, we have hope. All right. So that's good. That's a positive to come out of that. Okay, Melissa, Hannah, you're going to soothe me and Kristina, or you're going to just cackle as we crash?
Try.
Okay.
So I had this like epiphany when I was driving the other day, and I was listening to Chuck interview Brian Bannister, and I was like, I am old and I don't understand any of this. Like the metric stuff really does just kind of make steam come out of my ears, because it's just a lot. And like being that, like, my brain isn't like an analytical brain, like it doesn't really work that way. And so I'm like, I feel like in Brian Bannister, I'm trusting. So he to me seems like one of the smartest pieces we've had in our organization in I don't know, 30 years. And just listening to him, he has it in his brain like there is a purpose for it. And so I am choosing to feel like somebody who way smarter than me actually has a plan. Now, if the plan implodes and all of what you said, Brett, comes true, Brian Bannister, you suck. And I should have believed my wonderful boss, Brett Ballantini. But for now, I'm going to say that whatever he was trying to communicate to the people who understand seemed to make sense, and I'm going to trust the process.
Okay. Oh, God. Okay, Steve Stone. Hannah, Melissa has just professed her belief in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy. Do you agree, disagree, or otherwise? And listen, that's my, again, the only purpose to me doing podcasts is to try to insert the stupidest jokes possible. But no, there is something to be said for what you're saying, Melissa. Again, it's sort of like, okay, then what was the thing with Coulson? But, again, that was Chris Getz, mouth breathing, and, Brian Bannister with his iPad and his slide rule. Yeah, for sure. So, fingers crossed that Floyd's little boy can deliver the White Sox. I'm old enough to remember Cats will fix them, but hey, maybe Bannister will fix them. Hooray. Okay, Easter bunnies and Santa Clauses aside, Hannah, where do you come in? Would you have promoted Noah Schultz to the Charlotte Knights?
Maybe would have waited 1 or 2 games, but I agree with it overall, because I'm looking at his game logs. He had after he had one pretty rough outing back. His last rough outing was back May 18th, and he had 4 straight fair performances. So I would say they probably did it because they wanted to start him on the second half of the season in Charlotte, so that would make sense for the timing wise. But at some point, I would just say maybe he just needed to change his scenery. Maybe he needed some kind of confidence boost of, hey, you're moving up. Maybe it wasn't the best start, but you're getting there, and we want to reward that. Whatever rationale they told him or whatever they had thinking, I would like to believe they're trending in the right direction. Even if he might have a couple rough outings in the beginning, I think it'll smooth out by the end of the season.
Okay. Yeah, Noah's like, I'm getting gray here. I'm like 22, time's wasting. Get me to AAA. Change the scenery. Again, terrifying. You'd almost expect that he'd stick. This is what's interesting to me, too. I'm just getting angry about this. Hannah, you did not delay me. I'm sorry. That's not your fault. I'm just an angry man. They bypassed Charlotte, and for good reason. It's a bandbox. It's terrifying. The defense is probably shoddy. I don't know. The hitting traditionally maybe hasn't been even all that great, and this year is awesome. So you're sort of saying, okay, I guess here's a chat. Hey, Noah, you're in Birmingham Regions Field. You're walking guys. You want a real challenge? come to Charlotte. And, listen, that could actually be an awesome thing. I mean, if he's really got that, like, warrior spirit, then that's maybe the best thing to do. He's going to take it on. He throws, like, a shutout in Charlotte. Oh, man, call him up. But, I mean, he was a guy for a team that, like, routinely, even with position players, just jumps guys from AA. It's interesting he's playing at Charlotte at all. So, yeah, no, I'm still terrified, and that's just because I'm a nervous guy or a bad driver. I'm just driving into the mountain even when things are good. Hey, Tony La Russa, he's going to screw up the team. Yeah, okay. Well, I was right about that, too.
Just been a White Sox.
No kidding. 1977 was a great year to be a first fan, and boy, should I have stopped while I was ahead. I guess I wouldn't have had a World Series then. Deep sigh. Oh, my God. Well, it's the 20th anniversary. Let's pretend it's just the first anniversary. That's what Jerry wants us to believe. Okay, what else we got to talk about? Let's move back to the White Sox. Let's try to sum this up in some way. Okay, let's just look ahead. What's the second half going to be like? There will be some trade subtractions. There will be some injury subtractions. Call-ups, I don't imagine, will be substantial. I mean, Noah Schultz, I mean, fine. A relief arm or two, a bat or two, Elko, Baldwin, probably. Team's generally going to be what it is. We're going to see young guys continuing to mature. Hopefully that means they grow into, there's no real standout players. I mean, Vargas, from what he was, definitely stand out, but, 3-ish WAR guy, which is better than any of us would have predicted. I'm not sure if any of us picked him as the top hitter for the season. I know some of us picked Andrew Vaughn as the worst hitter. But how do we see second half playing out? Do they play better than the first half? Trends you see that would be either good or maybe worrisome. I mean, I'll claim worrisome, but be sunny for me first, or not. What are some trends you see in the second half of the season now that we're halfway through and on pace for 111 losses, a 10-game improvement?
I wish I could say that I feel like the 5 more wins is going to equate to then 5 more wins. Yeah. But I think we're going to be worse. Just because this pitching is, I think, tired, and we're going to lose some of it. And I don't think there's going to be enough new guys coming up that are going to supplement that. So I have a feeling we're in for a worse second half, unfortunately.
All right. Okay, you stole my thunder, but I salute you, Melissa. I'm with you on the glass being awfully empty here. Yes. Okay, Kristina, Hannah, do you dare shine some sun on this situation, or are you going to grizzle it with me and Melissa?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think that they're gonna trade. They're gonna make their trades, and anyone that is like remotely keeping the roster alive is going to be gone, and then we're all gonna get pissed off again because they're gonna bring up that asshole from AAA because there's not gonna be anyone to pitch. And yeah, so for that alone, I am dreading the second half because I know they're gonna dish these guys out of here. As they should, I guess. Like, what is the point of them staying here in the long run when we're going to be the worst or second to worst team, which doesn't say much. I think I'm with Melissa. I feel like it's going to be not as good. I'm looking forward for them to actually like playing the young guys more throughout the year, but like, if we're not just going to keep trotting out those guys, and we're still going to give at-bats to Josh Rojas, who is like sucks too, then that's going to also drive me nuts. I feel like we're not going to be much better at all, so worse is most likely. And I'm definitely not looking forward to like when they do make these trades, because we're just going to gut the roster, and some of those losses are going to be a little uglier, I think.
Less competitive. Okay, Hannah, it's down to you to spread some sunshine. No pressure, and you're not required to. You could be darker than the rest of us, but what are you thinking?
I'll be equally dark and agree. I think it'll be worse. It's really hard to stay positive at the second half. But I think it is what it is. It'll be at least I think the team spirit will still, for the young guys, be up enough because they'll won and have something to prove. But as far as actual wins and outcomes, it's gonna be worse.
Okay. All right, let's speed round to wind things up. Let's keep with the Sox, and then we'll go elsewhere in baseball. Oh, where could I be going? All right, I need a loss total for the season. You get to revise, you get to tear up, crumple up your preseason, your embarrassing preseason prediction of like 101 losses or whatever it was. How many losses this season? I'll go first, 118. Who's gonna closest without going over?
115.
115.
That's what I was gonna say. So
All right, well then it's a consensus.
No, I'll go in between just to be different. I'm gonna say 117.
It's brutal. Hannah's got to be sunnier than that.
I'll give them 112. I'll give them
All
50
right.
game wins.
All
That was
right.
my backup. But
Crossed the
I think
50
better.
threshold. And then Getz can say, look, we're in the 50s. And that's the way I always measure the rebuild. You want to try to get into like, especially when you're starting so low, that 16-102 season, whenever that was, 12 of them they've had under Han. And then next year you want to get into the 70s. You want to be around 500 next year, maybe get into that low 90s where you probably are in the playoffs, but you're darn close. And then you want to start moving up in the 90s. That's a nice 5-year block. Very aggressive, but that's sort of like best case scenario.
Makes you
Yeah.
want to be sick.
Yeah. And when you start at 121, let's do the math. How many years is that? Oh, it's 7 years. Okay. Barf. Okay. But in terms of, it could be worse. Will the Colorado Rockies relieve the White Sox and once again somehow let Jerry Reinsdorf off the hook, sort of like buying a team that has Michael Jordan on it, let him off the hook and sort of have the White Sox's record 121 losses disappear? Will they break the White Sox loss record this year or not? What are we thinking?
Yes, they're horrible. They are so bad.
All right.
I think it's a slam dunk.
Okay. All right.
I've watched them lose some of the most ridiculous ways this year. I mean, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. It was like they were losing 1-0 to the Dodgers, and it was like the 7th inning or maybe the end of the 6th inning, and it started too poor, and the Dodgers were batting, and they managed to get a runner on, and like the rain was coming down so bad that clearly everyone was pissed off that they were still playing because you can't even throw the ball, and the Dodgers ended up taking the lead and like scoring, and I'm pretty sure the game probably ended up like getting canceled and stuff, and it's just like stuff like that. It's very White Sox too. I think they're going to be worse. This team is next level. Minus 213 run differential. It's frightening.
They lost today as we record on Thursday with a runner getting doubled off of first from a fly out to center or left.
I watched it. A double play from center field. I was like, you guys literally, like, what are you even doing over there? Yeah, exactly. So for that reason alone,
All right.
they will be worse.
All right. Comic losses. So they'll do it, and they will do it in a comic fashion. Okay, Hannah, what do you think?
Yeah, it might not be as close as I think it might get to be a nail biter in a couple of situations where it's like it really should not be this close. But I mean, they're even worse on farm systems. I don't see anyone coming up to help them either. At least there are a couple of names you could throw out for the Sox. I don't see any Colorado names that jump out to me in that regard either.
Yeah, I mean, at least the White Sox have names on the top prospect list. I mean, the Rockies might have one or two, but like you don't even. What are they doing? Like, what are they doing?
I mean, that might be concerning itself that the Rockies and White Sox are so close with the farm system difference. But in any case, the Rockies will still definitely set probably a new record.
Well, good news for Rockies fans is they just promoted the son of the owner to like GM or president. So, you will not be released anytime soon. We might actually get out of the grip of our terrible owner sooner than you will. Man, now I feel really bad I feel like I should be a Rockies fan somehow in some kind of solidarity. If they didn't play in the NL West, I would say they will not break the record. My gut says they won't, so I'm going to say artistically, with proper drama, they will tie the record. So I'm going to say 121 losses. Do any of you think they're going to like break like 130? Like they're going to like go after like they're being Spiders territory or something?
Like, yeah, honestly, that was kind of my original thought process, and I know that they were doing well for like 2 minutes, like two weeks ago or whatever.
They've had a better June than the White Sox, I think. But
yeah, but that's not saying much. It's like I think they've won like 70% of their games this month. Like, you know what I mean? They could very easily break the 130.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay.
We should do one of our playbacks for the White Sox Rockies weekend coming up here.
Oh my God.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, that's one for the stage and commentary because, you're not going to want to actually watch the game and you want to just say, oh, wow, look what happened. A seagull just got hit. Oh, look, they just hit a vendor.
That'd be more exciting.
Yeah, well, and it's, it could very well happen. Okay, well, we have come to the end of our broadcast day across 2 platforms and kerosene Wi-Fi here, at least in the host's home. So thanks for joining us on our debut, providing we can download this and put it up and all this stuff. Otherwise, boy, this is going to be a real exercise in futility. And I will have to give severance pay to 3 members of this podcast. I get nothing, but these 3 will have to be remunerated handsomely for the fact that this podcast doesn't make it up somewhere. But it should, right? Come on, this is legit. Riverside FM, it's the best podcast platform out there in the world. So we're on it now. We're making it even better. So thank you, Hannah Filippo, for sunshine and clouds and the faith that Noah Schultz is going to be pitching in September for the White Sox. Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, hopefully daughter arrives in town safely and not too bleary-eyed. Kristina Airdo, with 1 less game than she had to do, but still an arduous run of 4-ish, whatever, minor league games to recap. Thank you for taking time out from that. I know it was hard to pull away from Chicago White Sox affiliate action to spend some time with us, but I appreciate you doing it. And I guess we'll all meet again here somewhere on the Riverside FM National Power Platform Network. But thanks for being with us. Without all of you out there listening and watching and paying attention to the predictions we make, noting them in pen, not in pencil, there'd be no purpose for us being here. We'd probably just hang out at Playback and just chat about games, right? Because we're all pals. Anyhow, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back at you. I don't know about a Mothership podcast. We apparently now go 2 months without them, so who knows? Look forward to the postseason Mothership podcast coming to a podcast machine near you. Now, if I can find out how to shut this down, we will stop this podcast.